The antique mirror in the Harrison estate's foyer didn't just reflect. It whispered secrets. On that rain-November evening in 2025, Michael Sinclair stared into its gilded depths, his fingers trembling as they traced the faint inscription etched into the frame. For William, my forever shadow, love hidden, but never gone. M. His heart slammed against his ribs like a trapped bird, because the M was his own initial, and the man he'd buried 3 years ago in a haze of grief and denial was staring back at him. Not as a ghost, but as the lover he'd pretended never existed. And then the adoption papers crumpled in his pocket burned like accusation. The wealthy Harrisons hadn't saved a stray orphan from the streets. They'd claimed their dead son's secret boyfriend as their own, weaving him into the family tapestry with lies stitched from love and loss. Michael's breath fogged the glass, but it couldn't blur the truth crashing over him like the Atlantic waves beyond the estate's cliffs in coastal Maine. He wasn't the golden boy they'd polished into their heir. He was the fracture they'd papered over, the boy who'd shared stolen kisses with William in the very shadows of this house. Betrayal tasted like salt, his own for forgetting, theirs for the elegant cage they'd built around him. As thunder rattled the chandelier above, Michael realized the mirror wasn't done confessing. It held one final secret, a folded photograph wedged behind the backing, waiting to unravel everything. The storm outside the Harrison estate howled like a banshee, mirroring the chaos brewing in Michael's chest as he pried the photograph free. It slipped into his palm, yellowed at the edges, capturing a moment frozen in time. 2 boys, no older than 18, tangled in an embrace on the estate's private beach at sunset. William's golden hair caught the dying light, his laugh lines crinkling around eyes the color of stormy seas, while Michael's darker curls pressed against his shoulder, both of them shirtless and unburdened, the kind of reckless joy that only youth and secrecy could forge. On the back, in William's looping script, "Our first promise. Don't let them break us, Mike." He'd burned every trace of their love after the accident. The crumpled notes, the hidden Polaroids, the playlist of indie folk songs they'd blasted on late-night drives from Portland to Bar Harbor. Grief had demanded it, or so he'd told himself, erasing William from his skin like a fever dream. But here it was clawing back. Michael sank to the Persian rug, the photo clutched like a lifeline, as footsteps echoed from the grand staircase. Eleanor Harrison, his adoptive mother, appeared in the archway, her silver chignon impeccable even in the dim lamplight, a cashmere shawl draped over her shoulders like armor. "Michael, darling, whatever are you doing on the floor? Dinner's nearly ready. Your father and I were just discussing the gala." Her voice was honeyed Vermont maple, smooth as the trust funds she'd funneled into his Ivy League dreams. But tonight it grated like sandpaper. He shoved the photo into his jeans pocket, forcing a smile that felt like cracking porcelain. "Just admiring the mirror, Mom. It's got history, doesn't it?" Eleanor's eyes, sharp as the family silver, flickered to the glass. For a split second, something raw flashed there. Regret? Guilt? Before she smoothed it away with a practiced laugh. "Oh, that old thing. It's been in the family since my grandfather smuggled it from Paris after the war. Full of ghosts, that one. Come now, wash up." Richard's in one of his moods about the stock market. As she turned, Michael caught the faint tremor in her hand, the way it lingered on the banister. "Ghosts. Yeah, this house was lousy with them." He trailed her into the dining room, where crystal goblets caught the firelight from the hearth, and Richard Harrison Sr. nursed a scotch, his broad shoulders straining against a Brooks Brothers shirt. The man who'd rescued Michael from a rundown foster home in Boston 5 years ago, after William's Porsche had wrapped around a tree on Route 1. Officially, Michael was the promising young artist they'd sponsored out of pity. Unofficially, the adoption had been swift, sealed with NDAs and a new last name, Harrison. A second son to fill the void. Dinner unfolded like a well-rehearsed play. Richard grumbled about tariffs and tech bubbles. Eleanor cooed over Michael's latest gallery show in Soho, abstract oils that screamed his unspoken pain onto canvas. Michael nodded, forked at his salmon en croûte, but his mind replayed the beach photo like a corrupted reel. William's whisper in his ear that night. If they ever find out, Mike, they'll ship me to Dartmouth and you to hell. But screw 'em. You're my horizon. They'd met at a prep school mixer in Exeter, New Hampshire. William, the golden heir with a trust fund bigger than most small towns, and Michael, the scholarship kid from Southie, all sharp edges and stolen sketches. One shared cigarette behind the boathouse, one hesitant brush of fingers, and the world tilted. Stolen weekends in Camden, where lobster shacks hid their laughter. Midnight swims in the frigid bay, bodies entwined under stars that felt like promises. William called it their parallel universe, a place where Eleanor's junior league brunches and Richard's boardroom conquests couldn't touch them. But the universe has a cruel gravity. William's coming out would have shattered the Harrison empire. Senators in the family tree, donors to every red state PAC. So they hid, until the night William, high on rebellion and cheap whiskey, proposed they run away to New York. We'll busk in Washington Square, paint the town queer, he joked, but his eyes were dead serious. Michael had laughed it off, too scared of losing the fragile life William offered. That fight lingered, unspoken, when William peeled out in the Porsche the next dawn. The road was slick with autumn rain, the tree unyielding. The accident report said driver error. Michael knew better. It was a broken heart veering off course. After the funeral, black umbrellas, a closed casket, whispers of tragic waste. Eleanor had found him sobbing in the stables, clutching William's riding crop like a talisman. Your family now, Michael, she'd said, her voice cracking for the first time. Let us take care of you. Richard had nodded, eyes wet, and just like that, the papers were drawn. No questions about the love bites Michael hid under turtlenecks. No prying into the best friend, who'd vanished from William's life overnight. They'd adopted him at 22, an adult technicality smoothed by lawyers, and shipped him to RISD for stability. Stability? What a joke. Michael had painted his way through the fog. Canvases of fractured skies and shadowed lovers, selling for 5 figures to collectors who praised his raw emotion without knowing the blood on the brush. Now, at 27, he was the prodigal son returned for Thanksgiving, the estate's prodigious wing housing his studio. But the mirror's revelation cracked the facade. As Eleanor cleared the plates, her hand brushing his with maternal warmth, Michael wondered. Had they known all along? Was this gilded cage mercy or manipulation? He excused himself early, claiming a headache, and retreated to his suite overlooking the Atlantic. The room still smelled of William, sandalwood cologne and sea salt, or maybe that was just memory. Stripping down, Michael faced his own bathroom mirror, smaller and less treacherous, but it mocked him too. The same jawline William used to trace, the same hazel eyes that had drowned in blue ones. He showered hot, scalding away the day's lies, but the water couldn't drown the what-ifs. What if he'd said yes to New York? What if the adoption was atonement or worse, control? Toweling off, he caught sight of the family portrait on the dresser. Richard and Eleanor beaming, William at 16 with that cocky grin, and now Michael, photoshopped in last year, smiling like he belonged. Betrayal coiled in his gut. Not just theirs, but his own complicity. He'd let them rewrite his story, erasing William's fingerprints from his soul. Sleep evaded him, the storm a relentless percussion. At 2 a.m., Michael slipped into William's old room, untouched like a shrine. The bed was made, posters of the national curling at the edges, a half-read copy of Kerouac on the nightstand. He curled onto the duvet, the photo pressed to his chest, and let the tears come. I miss you, you idiot, he whispered to the ceiling. Why'd you leave me with them? Dawn crept in gray and unforgiving, the estate stirring with the clatter of staff. Michael dressed in jeans and a flannel, his artist's armor, and headed to the kitchen for coffee. Eleanor was there, flipping pancakes with the precision of a woman who'd conquered cotillions. Slept poorly? She asked, sliding a plate his way. Yeah, dreams. He hesitated, fork hovering. Mom, that mirror, the inscription. Who wrote it? Her spatula paused mid-air, the sizzle filling the silence. Then, softly, an old friend of William's, a boy from school. They were close, thick as thieves. Thieves. The word stung. Close how? Eleanor's back was to him, but her shoulders tensed. Boys being boys. Roughhousing adventures. Nothing more. She turned, eyes bright with that Harrison steel. Why do you ask, darling? It's ancient history. Because it's my history, Michael wanted to scream. Instead, he forced a nod. Just curious. This place is full of stories. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. And we're writing new ones. With you. The day blurred into estate rituals. A walk on the bluffs with Richard, who clapped him on the back and muttered about legacy. Tea in the solarium, where Eleanor reminisced about William's lacrosse trophies. Michael played his part, but the photo burned a hole in his pocket, each laugh a lie. By afternoon, restlessness drove him to the studio, where canvases loomed like accusations. He attacked one with cerulean and crimson, slashes of color bleeding into a figure. William's silhouette, arms outstretched, dissolving into Michael's own reflection. Hours later, sweat-slicked and spent, he stepped back. The painting screamed what words couldn't. I was yours. They stole me. A knock shattered the trance. Richard poked his head in, cigar smoke trailing. Son, we've got company tonight. Old friend from the firm, Marcus Hale. Big donor for your next show. Dress sharp. Michael wiped paint from his hands. The Sun title a noose. Sure, Dad. Whatever you need. Richard lingered, gaze appraising the canvas. Powerful stuff. Reminds me of Will's sketches, wild, untamed. You two would have gotten along. The irony twisted like a knife. Yeah, Michael rasped. I bet we would. As evening fell, the estate glowed with welcome. Caterers ferrying trays of oysters Rockefeller. A string quartet tuning in the ballroom. Michael descended in a tailored navy suit, hair tamed, the picture of poise. Guests milled. Senators in tartan ties, socialites dripping emeralds, all orbiting the Harrisons like planets to a sun. Marcus Hale, silver-haired and shark-eyed, pumped Michael's hand with talk of acquisitions. But across the room, by the treacherous mirror, stood a ghost made flesh. Tall, with salt and pepper hair and a face etched by time. The man raised a glass in silent toast. Michael's blood ran cold. It was Theo Langford, William's uncle, the black sheep who'd fled to California after a family disagreement. The one who'd caught them once, mid-kiss in the stables, and promised silence for a price. His own exile. Theo's eyes locked on Michael's, a smirk playing on lips that knew too much. The mirror between them gleamed, reflecting not just faces, but the unraveling thread of a life built on sand. The quartet struck up a Cole Porter medley, night and day weaving through the chatter like smoke, but Michael heard only the thunder of his pulse. Theo Langford glided closer, champagne flute in hand, his bespoke tuxedo screaming old money laced with rebellion. Cufflinks shaped like tiny silver revolvers, a nod to his rumored bootlegging forebears. At 55, he carried the Langford charisma like a loaded gun. But his gaze on Michael was stripped bare, appraising, almost tender. Michael Harrison, Theo drawled, voice low and bourbon smooth. Or should I say Sinclair? You've filled out nicely. The East Coast air agrees with you. Michael's throat tightened, the room's warmth turning cloying. Mr. Langford. Been a while. Call me Theo, kid. Family, right? He clinked glasses, the sound sharp as breaking ice. Last I saw you, you were all elbows and desperation in that hayloft. William's wild phase. Desperation. The word landed like a slap, conjuring the scent of alfalfa and fierce sweat. William's urgent mouth on his. Theo had walked in on them that summer post-graduation, when the estate was empty and their guards down. No yelling, no disownment. Just a raised eyebrow and a deal. Keep my nephew's secrets, and I'll keep yours. But if you break him... The threat hung unfinished, but Theo had vanished to Napa Valley the next week, buying a vineyard with Harrison hush money. I didn't break him, Michael murmured, eyes darting to Eleanor, who laughed gaily with a congresswoman across the room. The road did. Theo's smirk faded, grief shadowing his features. Yeah, well, roads have a way of circling back. He leaned in, breath warm against Michael's ear. That mirror's a bitch, isn't it? Saw you fiddling with it earlier. Digging up bones? Michael's grip whitened on his stemware. You knew about the adoption. A nod casual as nodding to a waiter. Eleanor's idea. Richard was all for cutting you loose. Charity case. He called you. But she saw the light in your eyes, same as Will's. Said it was poetic justice. Keep the boyfriend close, call him son. Easier than therapy. Rage simmered, hot and righteous. Poetic justice? It was erasure, a velvet glove over a fist. And you? What was your cut? Theo's laugh was bitter, eyes scanning the crowd for eavesdroppers. I got my vineyard, kid, and a front row seat to the Harrison Circus. But I'm here tonight because Will left something for you. Not in the will, too obvious. Hidden. Said you'd know where. Michael's world narrowed to the man's words. The photo in his pocket suddenly heavier. What is it? Patience. Meet me at the boathouse after midnight. Alone. Theo squeezed his shoulder, a gesture that could pass for avuncular, then melted into the throng, leaving Michael adrift. The gala dragged, a blur of small talk and forced smiles. Marcus Hale cornered him by the dessert table, droning about blockchain patronage, but Michael's mind raced. Will's secrets, Theo's bargain, the mirror's inscription. When Eleanor pulled him onto the dance floor for a mother-son waltz, her cheek cool against his, whispering, I'm so proud. Guilt twisted deeper. She'd mothered him through nightmares, funded his therapy, the kind that danced around trauma without naming it, even hung his paintings in the guest wing. Was it love or liability? Darling, she said as the music swelled. You seem distant. Is it the show? Or memories? He met her gaze, searching for cracks. Just thinking about family, how we choose it. Her step faltered, imperceptibly. We choose what heals us, Michael. Will would have wanted that. Would he? The lie burned. William had railed against the family's polished hypocrisy, the way Richard's values funded anti-marriage equality PACs, while Eleanor hosted rainbow fundraisers for optics. They're vampires, Mike, he'd say, teeth grazing Michael's collarbone. Suck the color out of everything real. Midnight found Michael slipping out a side door, the estate's lights twinkling like distant stars against the Black Sea. The path to the boathouse wound through manicured gardens, now slick with mist, the air thick with pine and brine. His loafers squelched on gravel, heart hammering. What if it was a trap? Richard exposing him as the interloper, revoking the adoption like a bad investment? The boathouse loomed, a weathered cedar sentinel on the private dock, its windows dark. Theo waited inside, silhouetted against the lantern glow, a bottle of single malt on the scarred oak table. Knew you'd come. Pour yourself one. Michael accepted the glass, the liquor searing like truth. Talk. Theo slid a leather-bound journal across the table. Williams, unmistakable from the doodled margins, sketches of hands intertwined. Found this in my attic last month, cleaning after the divorce. Will stashed it there during one of your adventures. Figured it was yours by right. Michael's fingers trembled as he opened it, pages crackling like dry leaves. Entries in William's hand, feverish confessions of love. Mike's laugh is my drug. Rants against the family. Dad's shaking hands with bigots while I'm choking on rainbows. And plans? Detailed, desperate, for their escape. NYC by fall. Sublet in the village. I'll busk guitar, he'll paint us famous. No more hiding. Tears blurred the ink. Buried between pages was a key, small and brass, taped to a note. For the safe in the library. Our future if I chicken out. Theo watched, swirling his drink. He didn't chicken out, kid. He just crashed. Blamed himself for dragging you into the mess. I blamed me too, Michael admitted, voice raw, for not fighting harder. A pause, heavy as the waves slapping the pilings below. The Harrisons? They knew Scraps, suspected anyway. After the wreck, Eleanor grilled me. I lied, said you were just pals. But she saw the signs. The way you lingered at the funeral, the sketches in his room. Adoption was her fix, keep you leashed, rewrite the narrative. A second chance, she called it. Betrayal bloomed full, thorny and vast. And you let her. Theo shrugged, weary. Blood's thicker. But Will? He loved you fierce. This? He tapped the journal. That's his voice, screaming what they silenced. Michael clutched the book, the key cold against his palm. Why now? After all this time? Because I'm dying, Michael. Pancreatic. 6 months. Tops. The words landed soft, but they gutted him. Theo's eyes, so like William's, softened. And because you deserve the whole story, not their sanitized version. Silence stretched, broken only by the buoy's distant clang. Michael pocketed the key, gratitude warring with fury. Thank you for this. Theo raised his glass. To unfinished symphonies. Now go crack that safe before Richard audits the family skeletons. Back in the house, the gala's embers smoldered. Guests departed, staff clearing confetti like evidence. Michael detoured to the library. The mirrors glow accusatory in the moonlight. The safe hid behind a false panel in the mahogany desk, William's boyhood prank site for contraband smokes. The key turned smooth, revealing a velvet pouch. Inside, 2 gold bands, engraved with W and M, Eternal Eclipse, and a letter folded crisp. Mike, if you're reading this, I bailed. Coward move. But these rings? They're us, simple, unbreakable. Marry me in the parallel universe. Wait for me there. Love your shadow. Will. Sobs racked him, knees buckling against the desk. William had planned forever right under their noses. The rings slipped onto his finger, a perfect fit, heavy with what-ifs. Dawn painted the sky bruise purple as Michael staggered to bed, journal under his pillow, dreams a torrent of beaches and broken roads. Morning brought forced normalcy. Richard at breakfast, barking orders to his broker. Eleanor suggesting a gallery crawl in Boston. Michael nodded through it, the rings hidden in his cuff, the journal burning in his satchel. But the seed was planted, confrontation loomed. A storm fiercer than last night's. By noon, he was in his studio, the canvas from yesterday demanding completion. Cerulean bled into gold, figures emerging. 2 men dancing on a cliff's edge, one tumbling, the other reaching. Eclipse, he titled it, brush strokes furious. A text buzzed, his agent in the city. Buyers interested. Big fish. Coming up this weekend? Escape. He typed back. Yes. Need air. But as he packed, a knock. Eleanor. Bearing tea and concern. Planning a getaway? Without us. Just the show prep. Lie tasted sour. She perched on the chaise, eyes probing. Michael, if something's wrong. About Will or the family. The opening gaped, temptation sharp. But fear clamped his tongue. I'm good, Mom. Really. Her hand covered his warm, steady. We love you. More than you know. Did they? As she left, Michael stared at the mirror across the room. His reflection fractured. William's ghost nodding beside him. The weekend loomed, a bridge to reckoning. New York called not as escape but excavation. The parallel universe waited, rings glinting like beacons. Penn Station thrummed with the city's pulse. Commuters in wool coats shoving past street vendors hawking chestnuts. The air thick with espresso and exhaust. As Michael emerged into the November chill of Manhattan. At 27, New York was supposed to be his promised land. The canvas where he'd rewrite himself sans Harrison's. Instead, it felt like stepping into William's unfinished sketch. Vibrant, chaotic, laced with loss. He hailed a cab to the village, the journal tucked in his messenger bag like contraband, the rings a secret weight in his pocket. His agent's loft in Soho buzzed with creative frenzy. Exposed brick walls hung with neon abstracts. A Keurig hissing in the corner. Lila Voss, a pixie-cut firebrand in Doc Martens, enveloped him in a hug that smelled of patchouli and possibility. Michael, the painting, Eclipse, is a monster. Jordan Hale, that's Marcus's nephew, wants it for his penthouse. $25K, easy. Michael forced a grin, unpacking the canvas from its crate. Sold. But I need the cash wired quick. Personal reasons. Lila arched a brow, pouring him a black coffee strong as regret. Spill. You look like you saw a ghost. Worse. Family ones. He hesitated, then pulled the journal free, pages splayed like a confession. Lila scanned, eyes widening at the raw poetry of William's words. Holy shit, Mike. This is gold. Publish it? Memoir with your art. The idea repulsed him, William's soul commodified. Their love a bestseller for brunch liberals. No, it's mine. She nodded, respecting the line. Fair. But if you need a couch, my sublet in Brooklyn's open. Ditch the Mayflower Mantis vibe. Maine's estate. Mantis Manor in his head, loomed large, but New York whispered freedom. He crashed at Lila's that night. The brownstones creaks a lullaby far from Atlantic gales. Morning brought a pilgrimage. Washington Square Arch, where William had vowed their runaway life. Tourists milled, a busker strumming Wonderwall. But Michael saw only ghosts. William's head on his shoulder, plotting garret dreams over falafel. The gallery opening that evening was electric. White walls stark against his oils, champagne flutes clinking like chimes. Collectors swirled. Tech bros in sneakers, Park Avenue matrons in cashmere. Praising his visceral queer longing. Jordan Hale, 32 and heir to a fintech fortune, cornered him by the bar, all dimples and designer stubble. Eclipse hits hard, man. Like Rothko on steroids. What's the story? Michael sipped his Prosecco, the truth bubbling dangerously. Lost love. The kind that eclipses everything. Jordan leaned in, cologne crisp as new bills. Relatable. My ex was a senator's kid, closeted nightmare. Buy you a drink? Decompress. Temptation flickered, Jordan's easy charm a balm to the journal's ache. They ended up at a speakeasy off Bleecker, jazz humming low, amber liquids loosening tongues. Jordan talked policy wonk dreams. Michael sketched William's laugh on a napkin. By last call, hands brushed under the table. A spark that wasn't love but was something alive. Back at Lila's, buzzed and bold, Michael texted Eleanor. In city for show. Sold big. Home soon. No mention of the journal, the rings. Her reply pinged instant. Proud of you, darling. Richard's thrilled. Safe travels. Love, Mom. Love. The word mocked as he twisted the gold band on his thumb, hidden now under a leather bracelet. Sleep claimed him fitful, dreams of cliffs and crashing waves. Friday blurred into studio time. Lila's space loaned, where he attacked a new series. Shadows? Portraits of William fragmented through mirrors, betrayal in every shard. Jordan texted midday. Brunch? My treat. No pressure. Michael agreed, craving distraction. The spot was a West Village haunt. Avocado toast and oat lattes, rainbow flags fluttering in the breeze. Jordan arrived in chinos and a Henley, looking like he'd stepped from a J.Crew ad. You're glowing, Jordan said, forking eggs Benedict. Artist high. Ghost high. Michael traced the journal's edge in his bag. Ever feel like your life's a sequel you didn't audition for? Jordan's eyes sharpened. Empathetic. Every day. Family expectations, Hale legacies, all mergers, no heart. You. Michael exhaled, the dam cracking. Adopted into wealth after. Lost. But it's all built on sand. Secrets. A beat. Then Jordan's hand covered his across the table, warm, steady. Then build new. With someone who sees you. The kiss later, in Jordan's sunlit loft overlooking the Hudson, was tentative at first, lips brushing like questions, then deepening with hunger. Jordan's touch was gentle, exploratory, hands mapping Michael's scars like treasure. For an hour it was escape. Bodies entwined on Egyptian cotton, breaths sinking to the city hum below. No ghosts, just skin and sighs. But as they lay spent, Jordan tracing lazy circles on Michael's chest, the journal slipped from the bag, thumping to the floor. Pages fluttered open to William's script. Mike's the only real in this fake-ass world. Jordan sat up, scanning. Whose will? Michael snatched it back, shame flooding. No one. Old diary. Bullshit. Jordan's voice softened, not accusatory. This is raw. You okay? The vulnerability gaped, and Michael tumbled in. The adoption, the mirror, the rings. Jordan listened, jaw tight, then pulled him close. That's fucked, Mike. They're not family, they're jailers. You deserve out. The word echoed William's plans. That night, over Thai takeout, they plotted, not runaways, but real. Jordan's connections for a solo retrospective, Michael's art as anchor. For the first time since the crash, hope flickered, fragile as a match. But Saturday brought backlash. Eleanor's call mid-morning, voice-edged. Darling, Richard's worried. The show's success is wonderful, but rushing back? And who's this Jordan? Lila mentioned brunch photos on Insta. Stalking. The realization chilled. Just a collector, Mom. Networking. A pause, laced with ice. Be careful, Michael. Not everyone's as they seem. We know what's best. The we was a chain. He hung up, fury igniting. Jordan, sensing the shift, suggested a walk. High line. Autumn leaves carpeting the rails like confetti. Amid the tourists and skyline, Michael vented. The lies, the love, the lingering grief. You're grieving a life stolen, Jordan said, arm around his waist, casual but claiming. But you can reclaim it. Start with truth. Truth. That evening, at a queer poetry slam in the Bowery, Jordan's idea. Michael read from the journal, voice steady. William's words on hidden loves, fractured families. The crowd snapped approval, a catharsis electric. Backstage, Jordan kissed him fierce. That was you, Mike, not the ghost. Sunday dawned crisp, Amtrak beckoning. Jordan drove him to Penn, their goodbye lingering. Promises of weekends, texts as lifelines. Come back soon, Jordan murmured, thumb brushing Michael's lip. We've got eclipses to chase. The train north rattled with reflection. Michael fingered the rings, journal open to a new blank page. His own words spilled. Will, I found your light. Time to burn their shadows. Maine welcomed with frost-kissed pines. The estate a monolith against the dusk. Richard greeted him in the drive. Bear hug firm. Heard about the sale. Attaboy. Dinner's steak. Your favorite. Eleanor hovered, eyes searching. Missed you, darling. Tell us everything. Over ribeyes and Bordeaux, Michael spun tales of the city, glossing Jordan as patron, the reading as promo. But the journal burned in his room, a rebel heart. Later, alone with the mirror, he faced his reflection. No longer fractured, but fierce. Your move, Harrison's, he whispered. Monday brought confrontation's prelude. A letter from Theo forwarded, scrawled on vineyard stationery. Safe's not the only secret. Attic box, labeled, W's Toys. Burn or keep. Your call. T. The attic stairs creaked underfoot, dust motes dancing in the bulb's weak glow. The box was there, battered cardboard sealed with faded tape. Inside, William's relics, a mixtape labeled, Mike's Mixtape, cologne bottle half full, a stack of letters bound in twine, and at bottom, a manila envelope, for the day after. Michael's hands shook as he slid it. Photos tumbled, them at prom, dates as beards, road tripping the Cape, even one from the stables, Theo's blackmail shot, but annotated in William's hand. Proof we were brave. The day after letter. If I'm gone, know this. I chose the road because I couldn't choose you half. Forgive me. Live loud, my love. Eclipse the pain. Tears fell, but not despair, release. He pocketed a letter, hid the rest. Downstairs, Eleanor's voice called. Michael? Phone for you. It was Jordan. Miss you already. Send nudes. Laughter bubbled. Light. That night, storm brewing again, Michael drafted his own letter. Not to William, but the Harrisons. Truth's first strike. The letter sat on Michael's desk like a loaded revolver. Words inked in black fury. I know about the mirror. The adoption. William's love wasn't a phase, it was me. Your second son is a cover-up. We talk or I walk. With the truth. He sealed it, time-stamped for morning delivery, then paced the studio, the estate's silence oppressive as a held breath. Outside, wind whipped the elms, branches clawing at windows like accusations. Sleep was a joke. Instead, he blasted William's mixtape, Bon Iver's falsetto crooning Skinny Love, and painted through the witching hour, crimson slashes birthing a triptych. Betrayal, eclipse, dawn. Dawn broke bloody, the Atlantic churning red gold. Michael descended to breakfast, envelope burning in his robe pocket. Richard was at the table, Wall Street Journal folded, coffee steaming. Eleanor arranged lilies in a vase, her silk blouse the color of regret. Morning, darling. Big plans. Confrontation, Michael said, sliding the letter between them. It landed soft, but the impact echoed. Eleanor's hand flew to her throat, pearl strand snapping taut. Richard's mug paused mid-sip, eyes narrowing behind bifocals. What's this theater, son? Read it. Michael's voice held, steel forged in city nights. Richard slit the seal with a butter knife, scanning. His face drained to ash, then flushed crimson. Jesus Christ, Michael. Where's this coming from? The mirror, the journal, your consciences, maybe. He met Eleanor's gaze. She looked smaller, the vase forgotten. You knew. About us. A beat. Eternal. Richard shoved back his chair, pacing to the window. Knew what? That you two were. Close? Suspected. After the accident, Theo spilled enough. But adoption? That was mercy, boy. You were adrift. Foster system chewing you up. We gave you a life. Mercy. Michael's laugh cracked. You rewrote mine. Erased him from it. I woke up every day pretending I wasn't his. Eleanor rose, hand extended like a truce. Darling, please. Sit. We saw your pain at the funeral. The way you clung to his things. It broke us. William gone and you. His echo. Adopting you kept you close. Honored him. Honored. Fury crested. By silencing us? Your son's queer love was a liability, so you buried it with him. And me? Your pet project. Richard whirled, voice booming. Watch your tone. We built this, gesture sweeping the estate. On discretion. Scandals sink ships. Will knew that. Pushed too hard. Paid the price. The words landed like shrapnel. Michael staggered, gripping the table. You blame him? For crashing? God, Dad, you're the reason he sped off. Your values choking him. Eleanor's sob shattered the air. No. Richard. Tell him. Richard deflated, shoulders slumping. The fight. Night before. He came at me. Screaming about coming out. About you. Said he'd disown himself if I didn't accept it. Lost my temper. Told him to man up or get out. He stormed off. Next morning, gone. The admission hung, a noose tightening. Michael saw it then. William's Portia, not rebellion, but flight. From a father's rejection into eternity. You killed him, he whispered. Not the road. You. Richard's face crumpled. The Titan felled. I loved him. Tried to protect. Protect your image. Michael roared, chair toppling. I loved him. Fully. And you made me your ghost. Eleanor reached for him, tears carving tracks. We love you, Michael. As our son. Please. Stay. We'll fix this. But the fracture was seismic. He backed away, envelope clutched like shield. Too late for fixes. I need space. The drive to Portland was a blur. Rain-smeared windshield, radio static swallowing his sobs. He checked into a harborside motel, anonymous and cheap, the kind William would have loved for its grit. Phone exploded. Eleanor's voicemails pleading, Richard's gruff apologies, Jordan's worried check-ins. He ignored them, cracking the journal for solace. William's entry from that fatal week. Dad's blinders on tight. But Mike, he's my sight. If I go, tell him, parallel universe, baby. Wait for me. Michael didn't wait. He called Theo instead, voicemail be damned. It's out. They confessed. I'm unmoored. Theo's reply crackled. Weak but warm. Good. Moorings overrated. Come west. Vineyards got a guest cottage. Air's clearer here. California. The idea bloomed. Radical. No estates, no mirrors, just vines and vintage. He booked a red-eye, packed light, journal, rings, a single canvas dawn, half-finished, light-piercing shadows. LAX hit like a fever dream. Palm fronds rattling, ocean tang sharp. Theo met him at baggage, Freilier in person, chemo's toll in hollow cheeks. Kid, he hugged fierce. You look like hell. My kind of hell. The vineyard sprawled in Napa's folds. Rows of Cabernet like soldiers. A farmhouse weathered but proud. The cottage was stone and timber, overlooking mist-shrouded hills. Yours as long as you need, Theo said, uncorking a 19 Pinot. Will's favorite. Over glasses blood-red, stories flowed. Theo's exile, the stable's hush, William's boyhood pranks. He was fire, that one, Theo mused. You were his oxygen. Nights blurred into creation. Michael commandeering the potting shed as studio, brushes flying. Dawn completed itself. Figures emerging from eclipse, hands linked, horizon vast. Jordan FaceTime daily, his face a anchor. Miss your chaos. When's the sequel? Soon, Michael promised. The rings now on a chain around his neck. One for William, one for possibility. But conflict shadowed. A package from Maine, Eleanor's handwriting. Inside, the mirror's backing, inscription gilded anew. For Michael and William, love revealed. And a check, 6 figures. For your future. Bait or bridge. He tore it up. Ashes in the hearth. Betrayal's scar throbbed. But forgiveness flickered, human, messy. Theo's decline accelerated. Days a countdown. Michael sat vigils, reading journal aloud. Vines whispering benediction. He'd be proud. Theo rasped one dusk, hand in his. You lived loud. Theo slipped away at solstice, funeral small. Vintners in flannel, toasts to rebels. Michael scattered ashes in the crush pad. Wine-dark earth claiming kin. Grief layered on grief, but it lightened him. He sold the cottage site unseen, headed east. Not Maine, but Brooklyn. Jordan's loft became home. Their love tentative then torrent. Lazy Sundays sketching nudes. Gallery crawls hand in hand. Arguments over takeout that ended in laughter. The retrospective hit spring. Eclipse. Shadows and revelations. Journal excerpts anonymized. Paintings a testament. Opening night. Crowd thick. Lila preening, Jordan beaming. Then the Harrisons entered. Richard stooped. Eleanor elegant in gray. Eyes seeking. Michael froze mid-toast, but Jordan squeezed his hand. Your call. They approached tentative. Son, Richard started, voice gravel. We're sorry. For everything. Eleanor extended a small box, the family signet ring, Williams. Not as amends, as belonging. If you'll have us. Climax crested, heart thundering. Michael took the ring, slipped it beside his own. Not son, Michael. And it's a start. Hugs awkward, tears real. No fairy tale, therapy loomed, boundaries etched but human. Flawed, reaching. Later, alone with Jordan on the fire escape. City lights a constellation. Michael donned both bands. Parallel universe, he murmured, kissing salt from lips. We're here. Brooklyn summers hummed with life's stubborn rhythm. Brownstone stoops sticky with humidity. Kids chasing hydrant spray. The distant wail of sirens a lullaby for insomniacs. Michael's loft with Jordan overlooked it all. A sun-drenched airy cluttered with half-finished canvases. Vinyl stacks. Williams' mixtape remixed with Jordan's indie electronica. And the mirror, salvaged from storage, reframed plain, its inscription faded but honored. At 28, he'd traded gilded cages for this glorious mess. His days a weave of studio hours and shared suppers. Nights tangled in sheets that smelled of home. The retrospective success lingered like champagne haze. Reviews in the New Yorker calling it a queer odyssey of reclamation. Sales funding a scholarship for Southey artists. Jordan's firm sponsoring queer youth initiatives. But fame's glow couldn't erase shadows. Therapy sessions with Dr. Reyes unpacked them weekly. The crash's survivor guilt. Adoption's tangled love. William's ghost as guardian, not chain. "You're integrating," Dr. Reyes said one Tuesday, her office overlooking Prospect Park's golds. "Not erasing. That's the humanism holding multiplicity." Multiplicity. Michael sketched it later. A canvas of overlapping silhouettes. William's laugh lines in Jordan's smile. Eleanor's steel in his resolve. The Harrisons visited monthly now, dinners in neutral territory. A farm-to-table in Portland, no estates allowed. Richard thawed slow, sharing fishing tales from boyhood trips with Will. Eleanor gifted sketchbooks, her letters post-session. "Healing's a horizon, darling. We row together." Betrayal's scar faded to silver, but reminders stung. A news clip of Richard's pack pivoting to equality donors. Eleanor's junior league speech on hidden histories. Progress, purchased with his pain. Forgiveness wasn't absolution. It was choice, daily. Jordan anchored it, his love steady, not salvific. A policy wonk by day, he surprised with rooftop picnics, guitar strums of William's old tunes. "You're not replacing," he'd say, fingers laced. "Your sequel." Their intimacy deepened, lazy mornings tracing tattoos, Jordan's a rainbow infinity on his rib, debates over brunch, Michael's veganism versus Jordan's bacon loyalty. A trip to Provincetown, queer haven where they danced at tea dances, bodies free under neon, but climax echoed in quiet ways. Fall brought Theo's memorial exhibit, Michael curating at the vineyard, vines heavy with harvest. He flew solo, Jordan holding Brooklyn Fort. Amid barrels and bouquets, a stranger approached. Mid-40s, sharp suit, eyes like Theo's, steel blue. "Michael Sinclair? I'm Alex Langford, Theo's son. From the city." "Son." Michael's gut twisted, Theo's secrets layered. "Heard about you. The adoption drama." Alex sipped Cabernet, gaze appraising. "Dad wrote me before. Everything. Said you were Will's heart. And that the Harrisons? Not the villains you think." Pulse quickened. "What?" Alex pulled a thumb drive from his pocket. Files. Emails from '08 before the crash. Eleanor to Theo, begging him to talk Will down from running away. She knew Michael. "About you too." Offered to fund a trust, separate lives but supported. Will refused. Said half measures weren't love. The revelation reeled. Not just suspicion, but acceptance thwarted. Michael plugged in later in the cottage, screen glowing accusations. Eleanor's words. "Protect them both. Richard can't know yet, but I'll make it right." Theo's reply, "Kid stubborn. Like you." Betrayal inverted. Not malice, but maternal maneuvering. Felled by William's all-or-nothing fire. Michael called her at dawn, voice thick. "Why didn't you tell me?" Eleanor's pause, then tears. "Feared you'd hate me more. For failing him." "You didn't fail. He was eclipse. Total." They cried together, miles apart, the call a bridge rebuilt. Back in Brooklyn, he told Jordan over Low Main, the drive's secret spilling. "Complicates the hate." Jordan pulled him close, chin on shoulder. "Or deepens the love. Humans, babe. Messy masterpieces." Winter deepened their rhythm. Holiday lights strung on the fire escape. Jordan's proposal not rings but a joint lease. Commitment in legalese. Michael said yes, painting their future. A mural on the bedroom wall. Lovers in a vineyard under aurora skies. William nodding from the edges. Spring unfurled verdant. Michael's solo show in Chelsea. Horizons. Evolutions from eclipse to expanse. Opening night swelled. Lila toasting. Harrison's in the front row. Richard's arm around Eleanor. Tentative pride. Jordan hovered, hand in Michael's back pocket, whispering, "Your world." Post-reception, they walked the high line, cherry blossoms shedding like confetti. "Remember our first brunch?" Jordan teased. "Napkin sketches?" Michael laughed, pulling the chain from his neck. Rings glinting. "Here." He slipped one onto Jordan's finger, the other reclaiming. "Not replacement. Addition." Jordan's eyes misted, kiss salt sweet. Parallel universes colliding. "I like it." Back home, the mirror caught them. Tangled on the rug, laughter echoing. No ghosts, just echoes harmonizing. Years folded forward. 30 dawned with a vow renewal in Napa, Harrison's hosting Vine's witnesses. Richard walked Michael down an aisle of Cabernet. Voice gruff. Proud, son. Of all of it. Eleanor danced with Jordan, whispering, "Take care of my boy." Michael's art bloomed. Murals in shelters. Books illustrated for queer youth. Jordan's firm lobbied for protections. Their home a haven. Adopted strays, a tabby named Will, a labradoodle Jordan. Walls hung with triptychs, past, present, possible. One August eve, storm-lashed like that May night, Michael stood before the mirror, Jordan's arms around him from behind. Reflection hole. Hazel eyes bright, curls threaded silver early. "No more secrets," he murmured. Jordan nuzzled his neck. "Just us. Forever shadow." The inscription gleamed faint. "Love hidden, but never gone." Michael traced it, smiling. Gone? No. Transformed. Dramatic in its depth. Emotional in its ache. Romantic in its reach. Humanistic in its hope. An American story. Fractured. Fierce. Finally free. In the parallel universe, William watched, grinning that cocky grin. "Told you, Mike. Eclipse the pain. Shine on."